Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm back. Yay. And I am not alone, but we'll get to that in just a second. Hello, and welcome to MMO Buff's Monday podcast, where we literally dig into any topic at all that deals with MMOs, that deals with online gaming as a genre, and we try to rip it apart, dissect it, and come out with a different view on the other side, which basically means a whole lot of debating with, ideas for you guys to look at. I gotta put stuff down. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining us today, and I do apologize. I have been stupidly ill the past 2 weeks, which means we are a little bit behind in getting our shows up onto YouTube, and for that, I can only say I'm sorry. I'm hoping to catch up with all of that stuff within the next week. So fingers crossed. Now, for tonight's show, just like all of our other shows, if you have a question, or if you have a comment, preface it with a Q, colon, and Harsey, our lovely moderator, will grab it and put the comments, questions, etc. into our show notes, allowing us to basically answer your stuff. So without further ado, I have to introduce, I just wanted to call you the SS, Steve Spence!
Wow.
Wow.
What a way to be introduced. Amazing.
Well, see, most of our guests have a nickname. You don't even have one.
I'm sure we can come up with one at some point.
There you guys go. There you guys go. You guys have tonight to come up with an awesome nickname for Steve, because he totally needs one.
Naming ceremony, then.
Yeah. Everyone should have one. You do perfectly feel okay leaving your name creation to a public, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What's the worst that could happen?
I'm not even going to go there. But yes, so I am joined by Steve Spence, who happens to be is it editor, senior editor? What title do you want to give yourself?
Technically editor-in-chief, I guess.
Editor-in-chief?
It's all nerd who writes about things.
He happens to work over at Pixel Dynamo. If you haven't been to their site yet, it's pixeldynamo.com. Highly recommend it. And he's going to be joining me today as we discuss pre-release strategies. And there is a reason for this particular discussion, and we're going to get into it, and we'll see what happens. And apparently you've got a nickname coming in from Robots Hates Me called Stents.
Amazing. Thank you.
Oh gosh, that is absolutely brilliant. Right, so let's start off by letting you basically introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, and then I'm going to put you through what I put a lot of guests who join me when I am doing this show without Mizpah. So, go on, tell us a little bit about you.
Oh wow, as a gamer or as a journalist?
How about as a human being? Go with the whole mixture. You're not human?
No, I play stuff and I write about it. That's my two modes. So let me think. I started out life writing about stuff online, and then for some idiot reason went off and wrote for magazines. And it's a decision I kind of regretted ever since. And I'm just returning to online stuff now.
What magazines did you write for?
Well, PC Zone, PC magazine in the UK. Also freelanced for PC Plus, PC Format, and wrote for a couple of online publications, Register and the Inquirer. Just stuff that happened to be relevant to what I was doing. So,
right. So basically, you're a wordsmith.
Maybe second. I'm a geek first, and writing about it's the necessary evil. To kind of share those things. It's the price I have to pay.
It's a burden you have to bear, and I'm very sorry. Not really. Not at all. Okay, so the little bit of torture I'm going to put you through is the two truths, one lie, which is a fun little thing because it's interesting to hear what people come up with. It definitely shows a little bit of creativity. And I will remind you, as well as our viewers, we never reveal what the truths and the lies are. So we're going to speculate afterwards. And if you guys have an idea, put it in the box.
Okay, shall I go?
Oh, go for it. Rock on.
Okay. First will be, I have to remember these now. The first will be, I've spent over 1,000 days in one particular MMO, according to my played time. The second is that I have a horrible addiction to technology. Maybe I should have tried harder on that one. And the third is that my first arrival in the United States, I was held at gunpoint.
Okay. What year did the one in the United States occur?
13 years ago.
Possible.
Yeah.
Very, very possible. You do look kind of dodgy. Just going to throw that out there. Ah, poor Steve. Okay. So for tonight's show, this is a bit inspired. I mean, this is something that we were looking at discussing, but we were going to kind of hold off on it because it's part of the entire stratagem for getting an MMO out. But there have been some recent events which have made people kind of perk up and go, hold on a minute. What's up? And that happens to be those, well, I should say key crucial moments, those key moments right before a game goes live. So this is all about the pre-release. Now, I will happily throw out there, some of this comes from the fact that a lot of people seem relatively frustrated with the way that Carbine is handling WildStar's release. I don't know about you, Steve. Did you participate in the Star Wars The Old Republic release?
I did.
Did you set up a guild ahead of time?
I did not.
Ah, okay. See, that's what I did. I set up a guild ahead of time because they had that built-in functionality. And because of that, we all kind of got lumped into the same server. It's just sort of like we were transitioned into it, which was kind of lovely. But of course, there's certain downsides to this. But it seems that some people are frustrated with at least the way Carbine's handling naming and guild groupings and things like that. So, my question to you, and this is going to be a big one. Not really, it's just a simple question. When it comes to online releases for MMOs, what is the worst thing a company could do?
I think it's the flip side of the best thing the company can do. The best thing a company can do is set expectations and meet them. The worst thing a company can do is say nothing. And I guess part of the frustration we have right now around communication is that we are seeing a contrast between the kind of the original messaging that's gone out by social media and other sources and elsewhere. I think that as long as customers know what they're getting for their money, that they'll generally be a reasonable bunch. They won't ask for the moon on a stick. Most won't ask for the moon on a stick. But certainly when, in this day and age, and we didn't have the same problem with the World of Warcraft because we didn't have large structured communities. Blizzard gave us those later. We didn't have the same with Asheron's Call 2 and back in my EverQuest days, and even the Dark Age of Camelot, boy, that was going back a bit. But I think the problem now is it's very easy to hold people to their, almost throwaway comments, as if this were the court of law. In fact, it's the court of internet. It's far more damaging. And so I guess, it has to be that strong communication is key, and you've got to be really careful what you put out there. And right now, the worst thing that a company can do is set an expectation and just try and shirk it off.
Well, see, there's a difference between setting an expectation and not accomplishing it because you're still communicating. So I kind of have to agree with you that the worst thing a company can do is have no communication. And there have been some MMO launches like that.
Yes, absolutely.
But so we've had a couple people pipe up in chat, so I'm going to grab some of the natural comments that have been said. Cynical Dev suggests that too many servers is something that can be one of the worst things that can be done. It can kill the game once the initial hype dies down. Now, that's a debatable thing. It's kind of ironic in its own right, and I don't even know if I'm using irony in the correct term here. But earlier today, before I even got the blessing to have this lovely man come join me on the show, we got into a debate about the types of servers and how many servers should be available on a launch day. So I think we'll get into that more robustly now.
Brilliant.
So when it comes to the servers, pre-release, Do you believe that a company should just have all the servers ready to go? Like all of
No,
them?
absolutely not.
Okay.
Mutter.
Why not?
Well, so if your launcher is intelligent enough and the character selections effectively load distributing players between servers, then maybe you can fill servers in a logical order. But people being people, a number of users are either going to agree with friends and they're going to go somewhere, they're going to want to stick their flag in the sand in advance. Others will want to gravitate towards different populations. And I think it's really important that to avoid repeat of what we've seen in other games, that they start with, maybe as little as 30 to 60% of the total server figure that they think they're going to have within those first crucial 90 days, and quite aggressively spin up servers. Because, cloud technology these days, you don't need to have tin in a data center. You can provision new machines quite rapidly. You can have those VMs ready to turn on. You just don't have to do it. It's a very different world to where we were with the last major MMO launch.
Okay. Now, before we go too much further, we've had a comment about your microphone doing crazy things. So what we're going to do live on air is adjust your microphone. So what I would like for you to do is, where you fixed your webcam? Go into the audio, go all the way down to the very, 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 very bottom of that audio section, and under advanced, unclick sound mixer control. You don't want it controlled by your sound mixer or automatically adjust sound mixer. Get rid of that.
Better?
Hopefully. Okay. Say a long sentence.
This is a long sentence that I'm going to keep repeating until people tell me it sounds better. Well, I'm not. That's a lie. I'm going to stop very soon as I get the thumbs up from somebody. Please, someone, please let me stop talking. That's good.
Okay. So what you're suggesting in today's day and age is that because of the fact that there is actual architecture on a hardware level, as well as software, because, when you start dealing with virtuals and things like that, it's software. No, you can't argue that. But when you have that kind of technology available to you, it's a lot easier to just spin up extra ones as needed. So you could save potential budget if you limited how many servers you opened up at the start.
So I kind of feel like we're looking at this from the wrong angle.
Go ahead.
I kind of feel that what matters is user experience. It doesn't matter how many servers there are, as long as everyone, when the servers come up, has a good time. And for an MMO, that means finding players, and that means not suffering to queues. That means knowing that the publisher and developer are going to support players in migrating if your server becomes heavily contended. That's the stuff that matters.
But see, that's the thing. How can you... I'm just totally going to interrupt you. How can you actually find the right amount of servers to have in place so you don't have queues? I mean, queues are one of the most frustrating things in the world, especially at a launch. I mean, a lot of game developers actually do instant starts in the very first part of a launch because they don't want people to be bogged down by lag. They want to make certain that there's a balance and load, etc. But I mean, how do you come across the metric that tells you this is the amount of servers we need? Especially if, let's just say, you've already had a community around already. And a community in Europe has gotten so used to hanging out with each other, everyone decides to roll on the same exact server, thus meaning all the other servers are pointless because everyone wanted to go to the same place and holy crap, server full.
So they can obviously restrict the ability to create new characters in some realms, right? But that's something which most MMOs have today. So we have to assume that these guys are pretty clued up. They've thought about server populations. They've thought about having those fail safes, closing servers when required. We have to have a degree of confidence they can do that. That's almost the minimum, I think. The tricky bit really is the confidence that when servers do get busy, let's assume that we're going to end up with servers like Kazakh and Silvermoon in the World of Warcraft in Europe right now.
Okay.
The servers that even today have queues of thousands around raid time. That's fine if the developer or the publisher is going to either offer ways to increase the capacity of that server or give players a free migration. I think it only becomes an issue if you and yours have to pay to go to a quieter environment, if it isn't dealt with, if it's not something which is almost assumed to be part of the service and the subscription, because there's two kinds of moves, and Blizzard did that even back in Classic, because my own guild abandoned Silvermoon, jumped ship to Kul Tiras when they were given the option. I didn't follow, but as long as all that stuff's there, it really shouldn't be an issue for us. I think my concern for now, and the thing that Carbine could absolutely do to improve customer confidence, is get some information out there. Tell people what they're going to do about, not necessarily how many servers they're going to be, and not necessarily a server list. It would be lovely to have that, but we will burn them at the stake if we don't get that many servers of those names on day one, because we picked this one. So there's a tension here that we have to be very careful about, because there's lots of reasons today. We'd love a list of servers. We'd love a list of all the server types and the game rule sets that are going to be implemented. That would be incredible. But it doesn't mean, as long as we can form those communities and decide as a group on the day where we're going, and as long as they can do some kind of smart indication of capacity, that we can't find a home. It just may not be a name that we know here and now. We may only find out in a fortnight, hopefully soon.
Well, let's backtrack just a little bit here. I mean, what we're talking about here is the choices that developers make to literally, like you said, bring a user experience that is acceptable. Now, I personally believe that over time, the users' acceptance level has skyrocketed. They keep expecting more and more certain types of features because another MMO did this, then why aren't you doing it? Again, referring back to the Tor situation of building their own strategy to allow communities into the game. Now, granted, they failed slightly for a completely different reason, which is one of the opposite things that's going on, in my opinion, with Carbine. I mean, what we have here, in my opinion, is Carbine's all, okay, we're going to do launch. We're going to do it to the best of our ability. It's almost like they didn't plan for it. I know they did, but it just kind of feels that way to the user who knows nothing about MMOs. It's the kind of implication that their actions are having. But the Tor people were all, oh yeah, we've got this entire plan to get people in for their servers. You guys can make enemies, and you can build your entire collective whole if you so wish. And then we're going to try to get you guys all onto the same server so that your space is saved on that server and you can create your character. Blah blah blah. And then they had no end game. Not really. And then the other side of it, we've got Wildstar with a little shaky start, was what it seems like, but a massive amount of endgame. So it'll be really interesting to see how the survival works, because you and I were talking about the start of an MMO. Those opening months, literally the opening first month, can make or break a game. And that includes the couple weeks before the launch.
If you make that part of your launch, absolutely. Like if we didn't have this, so they've done some clever stuff. They can assess some demand based on pre-order, so that already puts them in a better position. They know from the early access window just how many people they're going to need to have servers for, and again, that's incredibly smart. I don't think we've got any worries on the other end of the spectrum about the content that's up there. Our concern is that I guess we are referring to social media and all these other sources and trying to infer what the plans and what's going to come out. We don't know tomorrow what announcements we'll see. It could be that a number of these fears are dealt with, but we did likewise in that Reddit AMA hear that name reservation is going to be global, apparently, which is in part related to the fact they're not releasing a server list. And you can understand that the presence of one would negate the need for the other. But as it stands, we're going to have this kind of odd situation where name reservations were offered and promised, and that's now one of those kind of pre-order activities. But it's going to create a lot of heartache and frustration.
Well, you're going to be unsatisfied no matter what anybody does, because we always have at least a couple people in the community that's all anti whatever is being done. Now, I want to take a look at another MMO that had a bit of a struggle. Actually, I'm going to take a look at two. So hopefully you have a little bit of experience with the Secret World as well as ESO.
ESO, yes. Secret World, not so much, I'm afraid. but
No
definitely
worries.
ESO. ESO's been fascinating to follow.
It's a really interesting story. But when it comes, I also want to throw in Final Fantasy. Let's just put all the MMOs in. Yeah, let's do that. Well,
Brilliant.
and then we can get into Tabula Rasa, which is why, why did it just disappear? Anyway, so Final Fantasy, in my opinion, had a very rocky launch, an incredibly rocky launch. And one could easily sit there and argue they underestimated the success of their own game. I
Yep.
wholly disagree. And the reason why is because they basically cut off the ability to buy the game on the day of its release, which to me is sort of a smack in the face, because you're sitting there going, well, I want to buy it, but it's not available. I want to buy it, but it's not available. Why not just let people still be able to buy it? Just stop them from logging in. Just be like, you can't make any characters right now. Just go ahead. You can get the game. So at least we know what capacity we need to set up. I mean,
it's a tricky one, isn't it? You end up with the worst of both worlds if you're spending the money but you can't play the thing. I can sympathise, but then we know that NCSoft have done this before, right? When Guild Wars 2 launched, initially they had a massive surge in sales. The game got so popular they stopped digital sales of the game through their site, to the point that we were hunting down retail copies, going sort of 20-30 miles to try and track down a box copy of the game to get like one more player involved. And it was kind of awesome in that brief period where everyone was so excited about the game. I still respect them for the decision, but they haven't really done a great deal else of late to attract me to it. It was almost that exclusivity created demand.
Supply and demand, which is a natural marketing thing. And
Sure.
Now that makes me want to sit back and go, screw you, Final Fantasy. You purposely didn't let people buy things just so you could raise the hype about your game. Because apparently, if people can't buy things because it's so popular, obviously I should be involved too. Screw you, Final Fantasy. Screw you. I actually own it, so it's okay.
Yeah, me too. And I've got it on both PS4 and PC, and it's still something which I go back to, but I'm never sure why.
I haven't gone back to it because I just haven't had time. That's basically what it comes to, because it has a payment structure that doesn't fit what I do, which is frustrating as heck, because I'd really love to play it, but I'd have to pay for a subscription. And when I go to pay for the subscription, I'm not going to have the time to dedicate to it. And it's not like my guild is playing it, so I'm basically going to be alone for the most part. So it's just kind of like, meh, kind of one of those. But now let's enter into The Secret World. Now, The Secret World had an incredibly odd campaign for its marketing strategy. In fact, I really loved it. You had trying to decide whether you were a Templar or you were a Dragon or an Illuminati. I mean, they started PvP out before the game even happened, which was an exciting concept. But when the game was released, it was flawed design-wise. Character movement was stagnated. You didn't feel like you controlled your character. There was, the abilities themselves didn't look very good. I mean, it was just design-wise for the character, it was clunky. But time has passed, iterations have been done, and it is one of the smoothest games I have played in a long time. So it started out poorly, but over the iterations, it's grown. So many people are used to the WoW model where everything's already given to you. You've got all this stuff. Do you remember way back in the day when there was no such thing as a guild bank? Do you remember way back in the day when friends lists were flawed?
Yeah. I remember the bank alts my guild had. It was something special.
We had an entire guild devoted to bank alts. And they were all gnomes. And they all wore tap hats and had diamond tip canes.
That's so inappropriate. Just like coming as a gnome, I played a gnome for 8 years. How dare you abuse us in that way?
What are you talking about? Gnomes are brilliant. That's why we made certain that they were the ones who ran the auction house. It was epic.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry. I'd never do that. My husband played a gnome warlock.
Ah, just like me. Brilliant.
Oh dear. Hopefully not just like you. He had a comb over on his. Yeah.
Right.
But
No.
anyway,
Okay. No comb over.
no comb over. And then you have the ESO launch. Now, the ESO launch
Mm.
has been brought to us by the opinion of yay and the opinion of nay, except nay is really loud. The amount of press and media that came about for this launch was so strong anti ESO, it was crazy.
Yeah. ESO is a funny one. I've been trying to get our review published of that game for a while now, and I think in part it's because we really have been trying to give Bethesda a chance here with their game. It's very reviewing any MMO is hard, but the way Elder Scrolls in particular has been executed is, in some ways, it's painful to spectate. I mean, you've got the problem anyway of turning an Elder Scrolls game into an MMO because that fantastic
The
singular
immersion.
RPG experience combined with people. There's no other way of putting it. Other players are the game's worst enemy, but the decisions they've made through the economy, the auction house system, guilds, is just painful and unpleasant.
See, that's the thing. I know several people who are huge, and I mean huge fan of ESO. And I'm of the opinion, for me, that the way that ESO has come about with its launch and the way that it's all being done, it was sort of, it was almost as if the answers that the press got, because they're the ones who wrote the stories on this, but the answers the press got were not the whole story. It was almost as if they were getting only bits and pieces. So what they brought to the public was lacking, or what they could only comment on. But ESO has its own foibles. But anyway, so we have multiple MMOs here, all of them who have done different pre-release strategies in their own right, because everyone needs to be different. And yet, like I said earlier in the show, our communities sort of have expectation levels of here when a developer has to make a decision as where they actually want to fit in the median. So I want to ask you, what do you believe is the minimum thing should be allowed or should be taken on board for a development company for their game pre-launch? What minimum things must they offer? And if you say collector's edition, I'm going to slap you.
No, in fact, I think Elder Scrolls is a great example of a collector's edition. Sorry, a premium edition done badly. I don't really buy into the idea, particularly when they equate power to purchase. There's that whole play to win vibe, which I don't really want to even begin getting into. And they, I think personally, if I'm psyched about the game, I don't care about Head Start. I don't care about extra loot. None of that stuff matters to me. I care about parity. I want things to be open and fair when that game stores do open. If that means there's 10 days of open beta and I have to log in every day to get my bonus boxes, fine. As long as I know about it. I think that, if that game's going to have name reservation, that I need to know a couple of days in advance because I might be at work. And that's fair, again, to communicate. I think that irrespective of your territory, they should make sure when they enter the territory, they've got the capability to enter that market and give the customers in, Europe and the US and Asia exactly the same stuff, or be very quick early on just to address those expectations. And I think they're the issues that we're really drawing problems with now, because I don't think they're the minimum for an MMO. I think that, these elements of communication are just about being professional. And ultimately, this is an outfit. We want to run a game for a decade, maybe. So we want the confidence that they're going to do what they say.
But see, that's the thing. The communities, the people who buy the game, the user experience is only made better if they do something other than just simply state, our game is being released on this day. If you want, you can pre-order it. I mean, pre-order is part of a release strategy as well. So let's take it a little bit further than that. There is no pre-order date. Our release date is here. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Have fun. That's one strategy. And that would actually turn off a lot of people. Because for some strange reason, people in our world, in our MMO genres, sort of feel entitled to certain things. Collector's editions, digital downloads, bonuses, just for either pre-ordering or logging in or something. Do you have expectations? Servers to be there?
Yeah. Server lists, just some... It is about that now, right? Communities want to form. There are guilds who've said they're going to stick their flag on different factions or different rule sets, and they can't now because they don't know if they'll exist. Establishing that stuff in advance would be great because, you know, they can almost bring a pre-baked community onto those servers, but at the same time, it's not going to fix it for everyone. There are some highly successful MMOs that never had pre-orders and deluxe editions. No, they had collector's editions. The one I'm thinking of did, certainly. It's quite large and popular. You might have heard of it. But they didn't do any of the stuff that Carbine's being forced to today. And, you know, when we talk about things like rule sets like RP PvP, they didn't have it for 7 months. But because it's all there today, that becomes the measure by which we're assessing everything else. And it must be pretty intimidating if you're going into that market with your first major release with a team who've been working on a game for the best part of a decade, to have to meet on all of those fronts. So maybe there's a degree of pragmatism here. They're trying to ensure that they don't do everything on day one, but the things they do well. And maybe with some of the stuff we're seeing right now, there's evidence that they're just trying too hard and they don't have the resources to execute.
Well, that's entirely possible. I would wager, though, that, you know, if you have a really good plan in place for release and you want to, let's just say that you're boasting your game. See if you've created an MMO. What do you want to call it?
MMOBuff.
Okay, so...
I looked across and read something from the other screen. I'm sorry, you put me on the spot. That's the best you'll get.
Right. Okay, so you have a guild. You have an MMO called Enigmacraft, right? And now I've
crafting enigmas, fork bombs and all.
Fork bombs. Fork bombs are not something folks should play with. Understand that, because they are bad. But anyway, so you have an MMO. Now, if you advertise Enigmacraft as being the ultimate PvP experience, wouldn't you want to ensure that whatever you did pre that go date fed that kind of mentality?
Of course.
Okay. So...
But that doesn't mean that you give them a PvP simulator and, you know, you...
That's not what I'm talking about. Take a book from... Take a book from the page of Tor. Take a page from the book of Tor, okay? You could have Nemesis factions and guilds that your guild could go up against. If you were going Sith, you could have Rebel, you know, factions that you didn't get along with. And they, again, tried to get you all onto the same server. Just saying. See, this is the thing. I understand how frustrated people are when it comes to what's happening with WildStar, but I also understand the frustration that people have with having to buy to gain early access for things like, I believe it was Landmark's early access stuff that they allow people, but it was bloody expensive. Founders packs.
You pay for that, though. Yeah.
Founders packs. But, you know... I kind of just want to sit there, throw my hands up in the air and just go, I'll never be satisfied. But that's not the case. I think developers have to make a choice as to where they want to put their focus, especially if they have a deadline or they have financial constraints. You either build an incredibly awesome, like Torin did. I'm going to constantly go back to Tor because I think what they did was absolutely exceptional. Their statue, I still have it. It's up there. Because, yeah, I did get the collector's edition. But I also have a lightsaber over there. But that's a different story. But anyway, their start was exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. But they couldn't keep the momentum going. And I wonder if that exceptional start made the rest of the game development suffer. because they had to put resources to it. They had to take away resources from one part of a project and implement it to another. And I'm wondering if that is why there was such, I guess you could say, endgame issues. And it just makes me, like, I'm sitting here, I love WildStar. I do. And I'm still going to play it. Yeah, I've pre-ordered it. I've got a steel box. You know, bite me, I actually ordered 4. But, you know, I really, 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 really want to give them the benefit of the doubt here. I kind of want to just go, I accept the fact that you guys are kind of not necessarily wishy-washy, but you guys haven't made up your mind on a couple of things, and you're much more focused on bringing us the quality content than the what it takes to get you to release date content. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, there's definitely much more that if we're being honest, you know, if we're being totally upfront here, we're talking about WildStar because it's the current and present example.
And that's what I said.
That NCSoft could do. Yeah, sure, but there's definitely more that Carbine could do. But ultimately, their parent NCSoft isn't exactly a stranger to MMO launches, and
true.
I'm not sure that it would be fair to say that it would deplete from Carbine's resources when they're part of a much larger entity whose, you know, major portfolio is all massively multiplayer subscription-based titles, or the likes of Guild Wars 2 subscription-free. But you know, they've got that pedigree. They have resources. Maybe they don't have an MMO launch team either. But if you were NCSoft owning Carbine and you want them to release the best game, then you don't look to them to do those things, which means it falls on you. And right now, you know, the stuff we're seeing, all the communication really is from Carbine staff. You know, they are the ones doing this, and it's...
Well, dude, I mean, is the business model really that understood when it comes to NCSoft? Yes, there are a whole lot of games down there. I mean, ArenaNet, Guild Wars. You know, it's not Carbine Guild Wars. It's ArenaNet Guild Wars. You've got Carbine WildStar. I mean, there was Paragon, City of Villains. And it's always going to be villains, not heroes. But anyway, you know, but you could sit there and go, yes, NCSoft is the parent company here. But do we really understand the business model that is in effect in this company as to how much, you know, they do the budget from NCSoft and the rest is Carbine specific? Or, you know, we don't quite have those metrics in front of us. There's no way for us to build a graph and look at the outliers.
So without this becoming a total like business conversation, in my opinion, because it is, you know, we're at risk of this devolving into a kind of a this and that. In the atypical relationships, Carbine would build the game and NCSoft would sell the game, and that means everything from support and sales and fulfillment and all of that stuff, all that, you know, horrible, boring, tedious things that we as consumers don't want to think about. We just want to magically go to the store and leave with a box in our hands. Hopefully there'll be a disc inside. Is generally on the publisher. Now, like, okay, so Carbine have lost some staff recently. They've had some departures, some of whom have been very customer facing. We don't know that some of the stuff we're seeing is a consequence of those folk who had fairly integral roles leaving. Maybe that's one of the consequences of losing the likes of Scooter.
Bye, Scooter.
Which is, indeed, it's a sad day. But they have still got some tremendous talent there. They've got some incredibly passionate people who really believe in what they're doing, and that's awesome to see. It just feels like the biggest risk right now is that the customers won't give it a chance because of the crummy experience they could potentially have if these crucial weeks aren't executed on properly. Like how many people are in a guild for WildStar right now? Not many. So they don't know which rule set. Not of the total pre-order population. There are a lot of people who are playing this and still planning to find their group when the game launches proper. And if that's the case, like, you know, we have this conversation, we've had this offline ourselves before, you know, the stuff you see on the forum isn't indicative necessarily of the customers, it's the vocal minority.
Usually the vocal minority, yes.
Yeah. And then someone like us feels particularly passionate about something, so we get on the internet and start talking about it.
Well, now see, this is the thing. You're talking about them not having their own metrics available to make certain decisions. One could argue, put it in the profile. Are you in a guild? Yes or no? Is your guild, or give us the name of your guild. Congrats. You've now basically allowed yourself to pull together enough metrics to make a somewhat decision to figure out how many people are where they're at. You know, this is not to say that everybody playing WildStar is in a guild. because I know it's not true. I mean, I'm still blown away by Jeremy Gaffney's figures of 70% of players on the Western side of things are solo players. It just boggles my brain because I'm such a people type person. But, I kind of just got this sort of, I guess you could say it's a little bit of a frustration. I have no problems not knowing what servers are coming. I don't. I honestly have no problem with that. I have a problem with their choice for how they want to do name registration. I love the fact that they are at least offering name registration. Catch-22 there for me because of my name, Sci-Face. That's okay. You still don't have a nickname, except I think you're still called Stents.
Amazing. Are we sticking with Stents, are we?
I don't know. You guys come up with some other nicknames for our lovely Steve from... I was about to call you something completely different. God, you can tell it's been a long day for me. I'm still not completely okay up here, folks. You'll have to forgive me.
Indeed.
Yes. But anyway, what we're looking for is a good name for you, and for some reason you just went really blurry on me.
And you for me too, actually.
Me for you, you for me?
You've crept into standard definition territory.
Oh no!
I wonder what everyone sees on the stream.
I don't know. But yeah, so when it comes to having a successful release, communication is key. Makes a difference what decisions you're making, communicate. When those lines of communication can be hampered, find new ways to communicate, but try to communicate. I think, however, you also need to add into a successful pre-release kind of cycle is stuff. I literally dub this stuff. This could be the ability to get the game in advance, because that's stuff. It may be digital downloads only, or you may be able to get a collector's edition, or you may be able to buy the greatest landmark packs you've ever seen, or whatever. It doesn't make a difference.
A blue cape and a shiny axe in the case of landmark.
Yes, a rocket ship. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
rocket ship.
Indeed.
A rocket ship is all I'm saying.
Did you see the comment in the comments, by the way, about name reservation? We have news. News is broken.
Bring it.
Carbine.
Oh.
So they're going to let people know in advance so we can set our alarms. There we go. That makes us feel slightly better, right? They're making it. It's better than it was 10 minutes ago. That's all we can say.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's great, but now you're going to have two camps. People like us going, cool, communication, and others going, yeah, but how often or how far in advance are you going to tell us? Are you going to give us 24 hours notice? Are you going to give us 1 hour notice? Are you going to give us 4 hours notice? I mean, come on. What advance are you? There's information, but it's not a lot.
Sure. Yeah. It's a start. I mean, anything right now is an improvement, if we're honest.
For you, some of us are patient and cool and totally accept the fact that they're not going to get their name because it's just not going to happen.
I'm sure someone will reserve it for you.
No, they won't. I know my name will be gone, which is why I have others.
There's 101 people in this channel who will all now try and reserve your name for you.
Please, just...
leave my name alone.
Well, see,
I don't have to reserve a name. It's great.
Well, see, that's the thing. I know that I'm going to have issues in WildStar because they are making a global decision here, and I am not the only Pseudo personality who discusses WildStar. There's also Pseudo who did the WildStar Nexus Weekly. Sure. And he is in the Americas, and I'm in the UK, and I'm just kind of like, can't you split it? So that, because I mean, you've already made us divide when the region splitting occurred. There's got to be a way, because how can you do global when you've already separated to the point where even people have had to change their account from EU to US or US to EU by customer support?
Solution. We'll rename you both. With gender-specific versions of the names. So we'll have Hedo and Shido. Sound good?
I will rather go with Lopzilla. I am.
Fair enough.
Did you not know that I'm Lopzilla?
I do now.
Fan
Oh boy.
art.
Amazing.
And I am protecting the loot that I give away as Swagzilla. So this is me as Lopzilla. I usually have braids. Today I actually put my hair all up because it's a little hot. But yes. So let's tackle a few questions that we've had people bring in. Serenity would like to know what your title is, Steve.
My title. This is the earlier conversation, is it? Or is this another title?
No, this just...
So I don't have one of those either.
this just occurred. So I think they'd like to know who you are again for those who missed you.
Oh, so I'm the editor-in-chief of pixeldynamo.com, amongst other things. I mostly focus on that these days. I'm no longer doing print journalism, so that's where you'll find me. Which means, unfortunately, the further you move up the structure, the less writing you get to do. Because there's always wonderful people now writing for us.
I so understand that. I used to write articles and blog pieces for MMOBuff. Now we've got the awesomeness that is Aiko, or Anthony, who writes Use, by the way. That is coming up this week. We've got another one. We've got Screenager, who does amazing Guild Wars pieces. We've got All-Star MMO, aka Dave Pugh, who does some of the most amazing pieces about random stuff within MMOs. It's crazy. Although his last piece was what MMOs could learn from Diablo. That was an exciting piece. And then we've also got people like Dr. Marshmallows who write incredibly thought-provoking pieces called things like That's So Gay. So yeah, it's an exceptional piece. If you haven't had a chance to read it, go to our website and click on blogs, and on the right-hand side, Lost in the Harrowing Marsh. He is a linguist, and it shows. And it is exceptional. He just, yeah. But yes, so all those people get to write. I don't. So I understand that. No. Okay. So questions coming in from our lovely, lovely audience. Who might I add? Guys, seriously, I love you. I am completely blown away by the lack of trolling that we get. So honestly, your comments, the way you engage with each other, the way you're supportive of each other, you make me so happy. I'm not going to cry on stream. Okay. Robot Hates Me says the opposite to having not enough servers is having too many, like when Tor started. How does that affect a game once it launches? Kind of easy. You get dead servers, dead pops, and it can be kind of nasty. It can be really, really nasty. There's nothing worse, and this happened to me in Tor. I got on a server with my guild, and we had a whole bunch of us, but we were nowhere near as populated as other servers were. Yet, to me, it felt like the right size. But we were not right. So what they did is they shifted everybody to another server. Just basically said, you have your choice. Off you go. And then they brought the server down. And my brain just went, what? You ever really want to get into a huge, huge debate with me? You should come on the campfire when we start talking about communities. I have opinions. I have big opinions. But do you think that's the only effect of the cost of having too many servers available at launch?
Having too many servers generally kills population, not just because the servers are quiet, but because of that kind of off-putting, the Baron Zone effect when leveling. It's very different to have like an established server that's low pop versus that kind of those early days. If you can't see anyone on day one of a server on a fresh game, then that server is doomed, and potentially the title. I really do think it's the right move to roll servers out and expand gradually over the first 3 months, because as long as the company isn't going to put their hand out for transfers, people are going to find players. They're going to form groups. There's much more chances of guilds forming from a medium pop server than a group of people who feel compelled they have to play together because there's no one else.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. It doesn't foster a very community-based spirit, and yeah, we don't want to have horrible things like that occur.
Yeah, there's that comment as well in the chat about the economy of servers if they're low pop, which is that they get destroyed.
Yeah, they do. But then again, it goes back to supply and demand, and Economy within an MMO is definitely a topic we'll have to tackle on this show at some point and bring out diagrams and graphs and flowcharts and, maybe get an economist on to discuss why it is so complicated and difficult. I mean, I know for me, I got so angry at WoW on my server because the server that I was on when I was on US side was one of the oldest servers. I was on Shadow Council. And the cost for copper on that copper ore was 15 gold an ore. And it was not because the game, in my opinion, the server was so old, which some people could argue because the longer you have a server, the more inflation happens to occur. To me, it was the way they implemented gold, the way they implemented the rewards for things that you did, and the way they implemented the dailies and a couple of other choices they made, because it skyrocketed right after a patch. Right after a patch, it got stupid, like really, really stupid. And I honestly think that's because there was just too much excess gold, not enough proper gold sinks. And that's a whole nother discussion for another show. But them's my 2 senses. Pences. Threepenny bits? Don't know. Okay. I'm going to grab from Old Git now. Is there going to be a problem with gold sellers in WildStar when live?
That's a fascinating question.
Especially with the implementation of CRUD.
Yep, exactly.
I think there's going to be people that try. Not going to lie. There's going to be tons of people that try. And they're going to have to try to be constantly competitive with CRUD. I mean, how often do you see... Let's go on a 10 base scale. Okay? Let's say that we get to the point... No, actually, we'll do for a 1-for-1 because that just makes it easier. Okay. The 15 quid is your monthly subscription. Yeah, I know I'm rounding. Go with it. 15 quid is your monthly subscription. Okay. Now, let's just say that CRUD sells for 15,000 for 1 month. Basically, kind of equating it to being 1 quid equals 100 gold. That's
gold. I didn't want to say anything. There was a hell of a lot of I didn't know if you were counting down it.
I was like, I can make this work. I can do the math. 'Cause math. And then my brain just went, there's a word you need. It doesn't have to do with math, but it does. And I couldn't remember it. But anyway, so let's do that. Okay. Now let's say gold sellers want to get involved in WildStar. The most obvious thing they can do is offer gold at a discount. So, for example, they could go out, do whatever farming it is they do, etc., however gold sellers work, and they could say, instead of it being 15 quid to get 15,000 gold, which is how the CRUD conversion would work, we will give you 20,000 gold for 15 quid. They'd have to undercut whatever CRUD is currently at. And the way that they're looking at implementing the commodities exchange, you only see the one at the bottom. You have no idea what the others are going to be. So I think there will be. I don't necessarily believe they're going to be able to do it well. It's not as easy to farm in WildStar.
Yeah, I think the other side to this is that, games like World of Warcraft have prolific RMT because there's no...
You're going to have to define RMT to people.
Real money trade. Sorry, guys. So they have a large population of folk buying and selling because ultimately, it wouldn't be stolen from accounts if there weren't people dumb enough to pay for it. But at the same time, when Blizzard experimented with that and they put that BOE pet, which could go onto the auction house, they did statistically apparently see some impact until everyone who wanted the damn pet had bought it. CRUD is different because everyone wants game time. So that's a
Yep.
big differentiator. The other one is that unlike World of Warcraft, because there is no RMT-esque solution, if Carbine a relatively hard line on anyone who buys and sells gold, who's really going to want to run the risk of losing their subscription, their game account, the time invested, when there is a legitimate way to and it is okay. Cred is effectively a pay-to-win scenario because you can use cred to create funds, which you in turn can buy gear. But I would prefer that evil in the game over just lots of, I don't want to say Chinese gold farmers, but them, or whoever it is these days that's doing it, because
It's
it
expanded.
destroys it.
Well, it does destroy servers. I would throw out there though, when it comes to the actual, don't lose it. It's getting towards the end of the show. You can kind of tell with the way my brain is going. But when it comes to the implementation of strategies to prevent gold selling or the manipulation of the market, because, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with one person who spends all their time doing nothing but the auction house. That's a style of play. I actually know people who do that. They make that a big part of their gameplay. They're not about learning the lore. They don't care about that. They're spreadsheet fanatics, and they're terrifying. They chart how the market goes for every individual item, and they're like, okay, well, this patch is going to come out, which means this is going to degrade. Market, it's just like, whoa, kind of a thing. And hopefully that made sense, that entire collection of words. But in order to properly police it, you have to have a structure in place to support policing it. And that takes resources. And again, we're back to that same thing of, where do you put your resources? Do you put your resources towards having a GM or a couple of GMs on a server that do nothing but deal with the people go, he called me fat. He called me Fatty McFaxon. Or, how do you balance out false positives and false negatives? And that kind of thing is, again, an entire new topic for a show. But, I don't think it's going to be as prevalent as other games, but I do think it will be there. I mean, if anything, sleazebags will find a way to scam. They always will.
Yeah, I think the biggest risk is gonna be more along the lines of the fraud we see with Eve and Plex, and that there are players out there who are trying to circumvent the auction system to trade in that currency because it has a real world value and an in-game value. That's probably where we're going to be most vulnerable, and it's all down to Carbine, to police, right? We're totally in their hands to legitimize that system because they're the ones who are taking, with any other game, you pay your $9 a month, and that's the maximum you can invest in that game. With a cred system, you could potentially invest thousands of dollars for however many gold or
you could, but that's the thing. When you buy cred, it's account bound. You can't trade it. You can't put it up on the auction house. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you can't.
I thought cred had its own category in the auction house for trading with.
No, it's got its own commodities exchange. You've got the auction house and you've got the commodities exchange. They have deliberately separated. I mean, this is something where we're like, well, what about if we wanted to gift one of our guildies with the ability to get cred? The secret answer and the general answer is give them the gold to buy the cred because it is account bound. So you can't put cred up like that.
So cred is more like the gem market than in Guild Wars.
I would think so, yeah.
Interesting.
It's a different style. It still follows along the model of Plex. It does, but the difference is if I buy cred, only I can use it. And it's good because, who knows, server transfers get implemented. Let's just say that occurs. What's to stop someone from going to where there's a really low market, transferring it over and to another market and selling it and really blowing the economy, not across the server, but across the entire region. And that's prevented by the simple fact that when you buy the cred, it belongs to you. Period. Okay. Now, whether or not you're able to re-put that one cred you own back up and potentially play the cred exchange that way, I can't answer. I think that's still up for debate. But when you have the cred, that's it. You can't put it You can't put it anywhere except back up on the, I believe, the commodities exchange. There you go. It's this repetitive cycle. So I guess there's a way to play that as well. But yes. So next question. And this is from Cynical Dev. How much does the game, or does game optimization, for example, frames per second or lack thereof, hurt a game before it comes out?
Tricky. So, if we're honest, we're not seeing the game at its most punished early on through that leveling experience. There's actually a reasonable amount of time before most of the population gets to the point where the game's really been min-max optimized. But endgame rating and cities are the only kind of really intensive scenarios. I guess there's a few environments in WildStar, as an example, which are quite punishing on computers for not necessarily the right reasons. But I'm not so sure it's as big a deal as it used to be. I think that, particularly with us all sort of swinging towards 64-bit systems, and with certainly the leveling time that developers like Carbine are talking about, that they actually have a certain amount of headroom to continue optimizing the crap out of the game for weeks and potentially months before it becomes a factor. It's and they're kind of lucky in that regard.
Well, see, I kind of look at it from this perspective. Anybody who does any kind of beta testing, anyone who does any kind of alpha testing needs to understand that the engine itself hasn't been optimized yet. Period. So anything pre this is the official release date is still under warranty. It's still being beaten up. It's still being nailed down. I mean, I remember, and I can't remember which game it is. I just remember looking at the sliders and throwing a hissy fit because they didn't give certain options until like after release. But it's one of those things where you have to accept the alpha, the beta, the gamma, the delta. We could go through the Greek alphabet. So, the entire development up to actual milestone release, it's not optimized. I don't accept that it would be. I wouldn't want it to be. I'd want them to have as much feedback as possible so that they could make the right decisions on how they optimize it. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating than going, these shadows are driving me nuts and I cannot turn them off because there's no slider for them. That is the most frustrating thing in the world. Oh, it is coming up in a future patch. It should be there at launch. I can take it up to launch day, but launch day is there. You better give me my graphic options, because otherwise I'm going to turn real evil. You don't want that. Soapbox, step down.
Indeed.
Robots Hates Me would like to know, in the case of Carbine, how much input does NCSoft have with the launch, given that they have Guild Wars 2 in their family? You do realize that those aren't the only games that they have in their family, right? There are other MMOs that NCSoft is involved in. I will give a Lopzilla heart hug to anybody who can tell me another one of their games. Are you cheating?
Me?
Yes.
Oh. I was opening the WildStar site just to try and get rid of the blue cast on my face in my screens. See, look at the difference. I can kind of light myself. It's amazing.
What a difference a screen makes.
Indeed. Let alone two of them.
So, how much input do they have? I honestly can't tell you, because we're not in a business discussion as we were talking about earlier. But perhaps maybe that's one of the things we should have on the show, as a discussion about the relationship between developers and their producers, and what is really the difference between the two, depending upon what you're at. Because there's a huge difference between, say, Heroes of the Storm under the Blizzard banner versus ArenaNet under the NCSoft banner. There's a huge difference between that. And they're not the only game companies out there developing MMOs. So, yes. We have some comments. Oh, go ahead.
I think on the, I was going to say on the Carbine to NCSoft relationship in particular, from the conversations we've had with people like Frost, Carbine have actually been incredibly complimentary about the independence that NCSoft has given them. They've got, the support when they ask for it, but that they've set a very specific vision for their game, and it seems that, from the president and down, they are getting everything they need to deliver on that. Whether or not we as customers will fill in and play the game as they expect and subscribe in the numbers they need to deliver on that vision long term is a totally different question. It could very well be that in 6 or 12 months' time they don't get the numbers, and all of a sudden all kinds of new things are popping up, and you'll be able to buy costumes and mounts and your raiding gear. Who knows? That would suck, but for now, certainly, I think Carbine are in an incredible place for a studio producing their first game.
I have to agree. From everything that I have seen, the amount of individual control that Carbine seem to have, it just seems incredible. It appears that way. Whether or not that's the reality, we're not behind the closed doors of board meetings. We don't know these things. But again, it's the way it comes across and the expectations that are there. It's different. Right. Ha! Ethantos. Heart hugs. Yes, Blade and Soul is another game that NCSoft has out. And there is another. I wonder how many people will know it.
I think we've mentioned them all now, haven't we? Over the course of this evening?
Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, we have. They don't have too many. It's not like they have 15 million. It's just not like that. But yes, so we've had some just straight up comments from people that are well worth mentioning. It seems to be the same 3 people. You guys are funny. So I have to start off with Old Git's comment. This is incredible. Breaking news. Wildstar to release soon. That has got to be one of the greatest, just simple comments we've had the entire show.
In other news, Wildstar.
Yes, another news. Tasso. Robot Hates Me says, how about trying to sell something on auction on a dead server when the economy is already crap, which we did discuss. Actually, you nabbed that, so that was good. I just didn't happen to notice that we nabbed it, even though the color is different in this. Cynical Dev says, having too many servers is good for the short term, but having too many will hurt the game in the long term. Judging the amount required is hard, and I could not agree more. I honestly think there is a science to it, and I don't think it's a science that we get a chance to see, because we could sit there and we could go, well, it makes most sense if we have X amount of people on these servers. Well, you can't guarantee they're going to go on these servers, especially if they're traveling in with a group. So individually, yeah, having it randomly pop up saying you should recommend it on this server, recommend it on that server, that makes perfect sense. Although I do want to throw out there is something incredibly different. This is another topic for another show, but I've played American because I'm obviously from America, and I've played EU. The type of servers that are presented are so vastly different. In America, they don't say this server is this language. It's just, these are the servers in America, and you get 16. Congratulations, pick one, party, and have pie. Party, people, pie. The 3 Ps of existence in gaming. In Europe, you automatically, especially if you do localization, lose X amount of servers to localization. Unless you speak all of the languages, you're limited on what servers you have available to you. And that in its own right, to me, is kind of it's such a different take when it comes to actual localization and regioning and things like that. And I have a soapbox to get on at some point in time about being anti-region and why I get so angry at it. But again, another show. How do you feel about regioning, by the way, Steve? Should I have you on and debate that with you?
It's an interesting conversation. I think in Europe it's less a question of choice. There are certain countries which require that the game is offered regionalized, so it's not really quite the same deal, I guess, for the US, because you have got French and Spanish speakers. Let's not have the conversation now, but it is definitely worth digging into. I was going to say the other point we haven't really acknowledged, and it would be kind of remiss of us to. We've talked about server economies, and we've talked about realm populations and these projections. if we're honest, these companies all employ incredibly smart mathematicians and economists who do manage this. We make it sound like they're kind of rolling dice, but EVE Online, for example, has a full-time economist who sits there and balances the value of everything.
You do know that Eve was actually created by a chaos economist or a chaos theorist who wanted to see the result of what happened when you threw real world into something, and it's literally basically the product of, I think, a thesis.
So the same is true, in terms of these projections for servers. We as customers may never be entirely happy. I guess the measure of success is how we feel in 3 months.
Yeah. When it comes up 3 months from now, where I'm sitting and where I'm standing and what I'm doing is going to say an awful lot, especially considering how much love, just in general, I've put into WildStar. I mean, come on, Lopzilla. See, it's me.
You're just making me jealous now. I need an avatar.
In order to have an avatar, you got to have a nickname, Sweet Pea.
Well, that's down to you guys. I can't really fix that.
But yes,
it's not Nerdzilla.
I'm not giving you any of the Zillas. I keep all the Zillas for myself. Good. Mute Zilla when I mute myself, which I do frequently when I'm streaming. I'll sit there talking and they're like, "You're muted." I'm like, "Damn it." But yes, I am actually interested in looking at ArcAge. I just don't have time to do it right now. But yes, so we've gone through all our questions. Just as I go through the last bit of some fun information, etc., and pick Steve's brains again, if you have any other questions or comments that you want to make certain that we see, do me a favor, please start them out with Q and a colon, and we will tackle them right after we go through this. I am going to give you roughly 2 minutes now, and I'd like for you to sum up, if you can, what you believe a developer should know to help make the experience of pre-release the best it could be. And then I'd like you to take a minute or two and do it from the community side and what they need to keep in mind when it comes to pre-release.
Right. That's in 2 minutes. That's
roughly try to sum it up.
I'll give. So from the developer publisher. So developer publisher, they need to, in kind of summary of what we've talked about tonight, I guess, they need to ensure that first and foremost they communicate with their customers, and that they set these expectations long in advance. Point in fact is this whole idea we're going to find out in a few hours if we haven't already gone to bed when this name reservation thing's going to happen. That's not ideal. They should really be considering the communities they're trying to build here, that they're not just squirting users across servers, but that there are going to be these reasonably cohesive groups. Yeah, devs need coffee. Dev needs so much coffee. That's almost like a mutual acknowledgement. We need the coffee too.
Says he who's do not give me caffeine.
Yeah, I'm like a gremlin where caffeine's concerned. Like a cup, maybe 2 a day, and then afterwards it's bad for everyone else's health. I think that providing those guys really get that, and we feel and believe that they acknowledge and understand that they're not just dealing with subscription figures, that they're dealing with not even in the sense of individual customers, but entire communities that are beginning to form and trying to find one another and find folk who are of equal interests and persuasions and intensity of play and hours of play and all that good stuff. And I guess to the others, kind of the flip side, the other side of this issue is we have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because we don't know what's going to come tomorrow. We can get on our high horses and say, I'm going to quit playing game X because there isn't a server type of this type expressed now and I'm a special snowflake. But the reality is that if it's going to happen and there are enough customers who want it, it will. And we have to demonstrate a bit of patience, because for every minute they're answering hate and vitriol on the forums and social media, they're not dedicating it to the things that we would really care about. We are our own worst enemies as customers. And I know that the vocal minority, yet again, it's the guys who write about it. They aren't necessarily indicative of the total population, but we can work against ourselves, and we do in so many places. Look at the community leaders who've just stepped away because of customers.
Well, see, that's the thing. And this kind of leads into a Tuesday show. When it comes to communities and things like that, the responsibility of a strong and positive community sits on the shoulders sitting here. It's your individual shoulders, it's your actions that impact everything. If you want to bring vitriol, you can expect it to basically cover a community in filth, and it can be very, very damaging. It can be incredibly toxic, and we'll get into that another time. But so, what do you think community people need to keep in mind about pre release, or at least what they should know to help them?
Hmm.
I mean, you've pretty
That's.
much kind of said patience and the benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the
I
doubt is
think.
actually the one that you really threw out there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the other half is that if, as long as we're communicating with one another and doing as much as we can to ensure that the launch is a success for us. The crucial thing for me, thinking back to these other big MMOs that I've played, is I kind of forget the launch 6 months in. Like it really matters to me today, but am I really going to hold it against them if the game turns out to be great? If that thing's engaging and exciting and it keeps me, enthralled all the way through from level one to max level to end game, do we really want to crucify these guys, or should we be, again, looking to find guildmates and do all of that stuff? Because ultimately, we just want a good gaming experience. Like the
Yeah,
rest of
we
this
want a
stuff is
home.
ancillary. Yeah,
We want a home.
exactly.
That is all we want. We as individuals want a home, but you cannot expect to be waited on hand and foot. You gotta learn to clean up your mess. Please make certain that any pets that you bring home are at least housebroken. And, sometimes it's okay to go to your room, but you don't always have to slam the door and throw your toys out the cot. Honestly. But yes. So,
I think the only other major thing we've seen recently, which we're probably not entirely proud of, is the community seems to be quite keen to throw staff members under a bus. I'm not sure how that's going to advantage us long term.
I see, I don't get that. I don't. Just because somebody let's use Waltzer because it's one of the things that we've been discussing throughout this entire episode. I don't understand the reasoning behind just saying, let's say, for example, you don't like PvP. Because I keep going back to PvP because that was our last episode on MMO Buff's Monday show was about PvP. But anyway, let's say that you are like PvP fanatic. Rawr, it's like what you do. You live it, you breathe it, you smoke it, and then boom, they make one change. For example, maybe they change the way the experience works in the PvP bracket. Do you immediately turn to Bardic, who happens to be the lead PvP developer, and basically trash her? Or do you take the time and go, I don't understand why you did this because this is the effect we're having. I'm not certain this is what you were looking for, but this is the impact it's having. If you do it that way versus just going, yo, and I'll go back to a phrase I used earlier, Fatty McFaxon. That's my nickname for myself today, Fatty McFaxon. You can go forth and, get involved on that level. What is that going to produce other than, her maybe paying attention, seeing like line after line after line of hate, and then that one good golden gem that could have changed everything in your favor got lost? I mean, think about it. To me, it's like, why would you want to make it so difficult for people to find the answers, especially the devs who have proved time and time and time and time again that they are listening. You may not always like their response, but they are listening. Frost is a perfect example. Can you please make the leveling dungeons easier? No. At least you got an answer. But yes. Okay, so I let you have your little bit of rant and roll. I've had my little bit of a rant and roll. We've kind of run a little bit over, but I enjoy talking with you. And I think that's a problem. I may have to replace Mizpa with you.
Yeah, I'm not being involved in that conversation.
Oh, it would be great. Now I could never replace Mizpa there. But to all of you guys watching, I wanted to give you some heads up. As I said pre-show, I've got a little bit of a surprise for people. Tiny, tiny little surprise. Actually, I've got a couple surprises for people. To start, like I said, guys, I'm really sorry that I haven't been able to keep everything up on YouTube. Bear with me. I was ill. Things will be filtering on, and I am going to do my best to make certain that things go back to it occurred and it's up within 24 hours. Because, yeah, that's kind of how I like things to roll. I actually like things to roll a lot quicker than that, but I'm actually going to try to sleep now. But yes, I want to give you some heads up on some of the stuff we've got going on in shows. Yay. So, what I should do, I'm just going to stop everything. How depresses. Lonely Ruby, thank you so much for subscribing. We don't force people to subscribe to us. We don't force people to watch the adverts that we have here, but just if you guys like anything that we're doing, there's multiple ways to support us. You can tweet about us. You can Facebook about us. You can YouTube about us. You can Google Plus about us. You can even nuke about us. Go forth, spread the word. That is the one thing that we request. Everything else is beyond icing on the pie, because we all know the cake is a lie. And I totally made a rhyme, and I don't think I can do it again. So, but, thank you so very, very much for that. It just means that when I see you, you get a hug. Yes. That's my thing. I give hugs to our subscribers whenever we meet in person at a convention or wherever. So, thank you. Heartsy, heartsy, heartsy. Okay, so tomorrow, as I kept referencing throughout today, it's the campfire. Have you ever seen the campfire, Steve?
I have not. I don't think so. I've caught a number of the other shows, but not. I don't think Tuesdays.
The campfire has Blank Space, Row Blank Space from the Viking Nation, and Screenager from Afterlife Gaming EU, and myself. And then we have guests come on from a variety of different communities. We've had Aether on to come talk about stuff, which was hysterical because he brought Allie along as well, which made for greatness because he had a Nerf gun fight in the middle of the episode. It was great. Troy, I love you. But yes, so it's all about communities and things like that. And tomorrow, we're finally going into a topic that we've been wanting to get a guest on to talk to us about for a very long time. We have Pixie from Ladies of the Round Table. I love those girls. And she's joining us as we discuss the impact of bringing money into a community. And this includes things like esports and MOBAs. So we are going to be going into those types of communities tomorrow. In fact, we're going to be bringing money in general into it. I'm not going to tell you the name of tomorrow's show because I may or may not have to sing the title. That's all I'm going to say. So Wednesday is our blizzard forecast. Yay! As I move things all around my screen. The blizzard forecast is all about Blizzard. From HOTS to Hearthstone to Warlords of Draenor to StarCraft to Diablo 3. It is all about it. And we have a brand new host who has decided to join us forevers and for realsies on the show. So not only do you get Mizpah, not only do you get Blank Space, not only do you get Parvs from Yogg's Cast, not only do you get myself and Dr. Marshmallows as we go into crazy detail about Hearthstone, you're also getting a new member, Hearth Trollden. For those of you who are not familiar with him, you really need to check out his Twitch channel. He does amazing videos. He will be joining. He was on last week and decided, this is so much fun. Can I stay? And we're like, sure. Hint, hint. Do you want to stay, Steve? Okay, so that's Wednesday. Now, Thursday. You guys know we normally take a break on Thursday. That's going to be changing very soon. We are bringing a show to you, not Thursday night. It's going to be at a completely different time. It's actually going to be at 1 p.m. BST. And the reason for it is the fact that it is by developers for developers or people interested in learning about game development in general. You want to see what's on the other side of the coin? Come, talk. It's great. I have a new host coming to us. He is a developer, an independent developer, and he is awesome. And he has had this idea to do this amazing video cast about developing and development and things like that. And I'm just like, well, let me help. I want to do this too. It's about fostering community, but for the independent developers as well as the other people who are actually big developers. He's like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, yay. So I'm going to give you guys for the first time ever the name of the show. So sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, the data mine is going to be starting on a Thursday at 1 p.m. BST. And we will be mining data a whole bunch. And we'll have guests on. Everything from the people who do marketing, to the people who do the publishing, to the people who do the graphics, to the people who do the sound. Any part of game design that you may or even may not know about is going to be there. Talk about like a complete and utter dream for a geek like myself. I get to be a part of like the people talking about the actual development of the game. Ah, yay. That gets me excited. Okay, so that's going to be happening soon. Friday, we have our Cosmotronic all about Wildstar. Woo! Still love Hearts to Wildstar. It's also Team Pappy. Are you Team Pappy or are you Team Frost, Steve?
Team Frost.
Screw you and the working joystick and mouse and, keyboard that you wrote in on.
I've had the pleasure of meeting Frost. I've as yet to meet Pappy, so we'll have to work on that.
Well, see, that's the thing. I met Pappy at Gamescom, but I didn't meet him under the pretext of Wildstar.
Right.
I was at the Wildstar booth, but I ended up talking to someone, and I'm like, okay, so tell me a little bit about the iterative process you guys want, because I'm a coder myself. I understand the development cycle. I wanted to know their thought processes, and they mentioned something about the experiences they've had in previous games. So I'm like, what games did you play or create? And they started talking about VTM Bloodlines, and I just went, really? VTM Bloodlines? Really? Okay, who did the Malkavian? I was directed to Pappy. And I think I spent about 30 minutes of his time wasting it going, oh my God, the Malkavians. I totally went fangirl, but I was respectful and I was poised, but I was total fangirl. So I totally fell in love with Pappy just from that alone because the Malkavian is absolutely exceptional. But anyway, so that's that. And I only met Frost just recently when he came onto the Cosmotronic when we went to do the live show from Meltdown.
Right.
And it was kind of terrifying. I'm like, hi, Frost time. He goes, I know who you are. And I'm like, you know me? Yay. I was kind of blown away. I was like, wow. But yes, so no matter what, I'm always going to be a Team Pappy girl. So Friday's Cosmotronic, you're definitely going to want to be here for that. I can't tell you why. I'm not allowed. I hate that. And then Saturday, Top Draw, where you have Dr. Marshmallows and myself digging into new TCGs other than Hearthstone. And we're going to be looking at Infinity Wars. So if you have questions about Infinity Wars or you have questions for any of us for any of our shows, please seek us out on social media. Send us an email at voice@MMOBuff.TV. And of course, this is basically where I turn to you and I say, it's time for you to come up with your closing catchphrase. This is the thing that you are going to have to say every single time you come on and visit us. We've had a variety of...
advance notice.
Oh, it's no fun. Hey, we've had some crazy ones. Aiko, our use article, or our use writer, his was something along the lines of, I don't know, maybe something like it, but I'm getting higher pitched. It was like, you're stuck with that. It was great. So, yeah. I'll let you think for just a little bit more, but I want to thank you. Oh, come on the spot is so much fun. You're an organizer and a planner, aren't you?
Not necessarily. I just like to kid myself that I've had opportunity, and then obviously it's my fault rather than this.
Right. Okay. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining. It was incredibly short notice to have you on because Mizpa is unfortunately really busy right now. Get well. And obviously be in touch, Ms. Know that we miss you. So yes. But yes, so for you, thank you. Hopefully I can have you on again. And we have a variety of different shows, so it's not like you can be limited to one. It all depends on what your interests are. And just, it makes a difference what you do. You're stuck with me on every show. So
Oh boy, you're really building it up.
Yeah, all the more reason to turn. Run away! Yeah. So, yeah. Leaves me to say thank you to everybody who is watching. A huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to us, and a massive, massive thank you to just you guys for showing up, participating, and having incredibly awesome conversations. Because, seriously, thank you. And on that note, go ahead and say bye-bye, Steve.
Goodbye, Steve.
Remember, go check out Pixel Dynamo, folks. If you haven't seen it yet, you really need to. It is an awesome gaming site. But yes, and it leaves me to say to everybody, hearts, loves, thank you so much for participating, and of course, for the awesomeness that is the discussion about the release before the storm, is probably what I should have named the episode, but oh well. Anyway, have a fantastic night. Toodle pip, everybody. Toodle pip. I don't know why I said it twice. It just seems weird.